Shut up and sit down.
All right, everybody, welcome to Spray Ring Podcast, episode 35 or 36. I never know which ones, even though we do the editing and crap, but anyway.
Yeah, it's not we do the editing, it's that you do the editing.
That's
you
your
should know this.
So you're throwing me under the bus and when there's screw-ups. Now everybody knows. We're supposed to share.
well then, our part of the editing was done correct, and then Nation screwed up the rest.
Sounds
Welcome,
about right.
everyone.
I farmed that out to Tyler Cooley.
Oh,
I said, everything that I edited was fine.
yeah, there you go. All right, well, we just came off of a good weekend of wrestling. We were at a church function out in Cahokia. We talked a little bit about it last week, and so it happened Saturday night. I do got the results. We didn't know what the matches were going to be, except for the main event. Of course, me and Bobby were in that one. But we can just go through them real quick if you want.
Yeah, let's go through it. I do have, just for people to know, hang tight, we do have some clips from last Saturday, so if they want to see it, we will be running it with your guys' commentary.
What we need to do is have some clips of other guys' matches besides ours. That way we're fair and unbalanced, or however that wording is. Fair and balanced.
Fair and balanced. Well, right now we're unbalanced because I only brought up your guys' because everybody else doesn't post as frequently as you guys do.
Just no Tom Vincent.
Actually, there should have been this great thing that was posted today. Sean Vincent posted it. I don't know why he posted it, but he was cutting down a tree or something with a chainsaw, and he got the chainsaw stuck, and one of his daughters was next to him, and he's sitting there complaining, and she goes, why don't you have Bobby D do it, because he's stronger than you. And so that was
I stole that and reposted that one.
That is funny.
Well, see, the thing is Sean's daughters really love Bobby D, and so I think it's a kind of like a running joke in that family too, that anything that they can throw at Sean that's related to Bobby D, they do it. So it's pretty funny.
I tried to get his attention when we came to the ring because one of his daughters gave me a hug, and I was like, point and wave at your dad.
That's cool.
You have to have one of them be your valet and walk you out one match that you're going against Vincent.
Hey, before I get started with the results here, I want to throw out that Herb had already posted his second person coming to the Fan Fest in May. Of course, that's going to be May 18th.
I was going to ask about that because when he posted it, he took the other person off the poster.
Well, no. Yeah. So there's already 15 people that's already called and pretty much are on the card. I told him when we were first initially talking about it, I said, you know what? It's 8 months away. Why don't you just not tell anyone until December? Start rolling it out in December. It could be like a start to the new year. Merry Christmas, by the way. This guy's coming in, or this guy's coming in, but he's already starting to announce. So it's kind of crazy.
Well, Herb, it's not going to stop at 15 probably.
Oh, no.
It's going to be bigger than last year.
There was 48 last year, so
I'm sure we're breaking 50 this year.
Right. Who knows how many? But yeah, so was it last week he announced it was Dr.
D. David Schultz.
D. David Schultz. Of course, he is well known for the slap heard around the world.
So Nate, I have a question for you to ask him on camera.
Oh. Before you ask him this, let me just go over the story. there was a reporter that caught him in the hallway of one of the shows and was trying to confront him, saying, "This isn't real. You know, wrestling is fake." And Dr. D, he just went off and slapped him, and he went down to the ground, and he stood over him and slapped him again.
Just yelling, does that feel real to you?
Yeah, does that feel fake? You know.
Did you want me to ask him, did it feel real, Bobby?
If it is real.
No, you got to ask him if it's fake. You got to walk up to him and say, "Isn't wrestling just fake?" Just to see what he says. He's a little bit older. His slap might not hurt as bad.
Yeah, and I don't know what the other reporter looked like, but I'm probably a lot more stronger than that other reporter,
Well,
so I doubt I'll go down.
Well, the short story of it is that reporter sued the WWF, said that he busted his eardrum and caused so much damage to him. And what's really sucking, that guy was running a program with Hulk Hogan at the time. So those two were the ones going to town, and Hulk Hogan, the big baby, and Dr. D, he was the ultimate heel because back in the day he was a heel, big mean son of a bitch, and Vince McMahon pretty much let him take the fall because everyone was told by Vince, stick up for the business, do what needs to be done. And some other people, have done it too. Vader and The Undertaker was getting interviewed over in Japan, I think, and one of them had tried to stir some shit, and Vader had picked him up and slammed him through a table. Hulk Hogan did it. He was on one of the late night shows, and some guy asked him, aren't these moves fake? And Hogan put the guy to sleep live on the air. So other people have done the same things.
And the other slut heard around the world, Jerry Lawler, on that comedian guy.
Andy Kaufman, yeah.
Yeah, Andy Kaufman.
But so Dr. D pretty much was blackballed for the rest of his wrestling days. He couldn't wrestle for anyone else because McMahon threw him under the bus, said that he didn't give him the right to do that. I don't know. I know the reporter won some money, but I don't know if it came straight from Doctor or if it came from Vince. But ever since then, the Doctor wasn't able to wrestle anywhere.
He got into bounty hunting after that.
Yeah, he became a bounty hunter. So yeah, even add some more legitimacy to his name,
All right, Bobby, we're going to put a bounty on you. Have Dr. D come after you. We'll film it like cops. We'll run after you.
I think I can outrun him.
So he was last week, and so this week, Herb announced that Brian Blair is going to be the second one. Now he's also, I'm going to get the title probably wrong. I think he is the vice president of the CAC. I don't think he's the president, but I think he's the vice. Or I want to say he's the vice. So besides his long stint in AWA and WWF, WWF, he was part of the Killer Bees. AWA, it was the same tag team, but I think they went under a different name. And then I think he actually tagged with Greg Gagne as well. But yeah, so he's going to be the second guy. So I think it's kind of cool how most of these things are intertwining. So you got Iowa, you got the CAC, and you got Herb's Fan Fest. A lot of the same guys are kind of rotating through. Because Iowa is the Hall of Fame for the wrestlers. The CAC is a Hall of Fame as well, but the organization is to give back to the wrestlers in need. And then you got Herb's St. Louis Hall of Fame and Fan Fest, So you got like a mix of both. You get the Hall of Fame going on, and then you got the Fan Fest at the same time. But
Yeah, and if Herb keeps going, he's going to get so big that it's going to be the largest in the nation.
well, I heard rumors it's going to be 2 days. It's not set in stone yet, but I would, if I was a fan and you're watching this, they already announced May 18th. I would take May 17th off as well, just in case. It's like I said, it's not set in stone, but I heard some good things about that Friday before. So,
I
if
mean, the
you're
worst comes to worst is you have another vacation day out of it.
That is
yeah,
true. And
I
it tied last week and made together with you and Bobby doing a tag team and doing so well last week in your tag team match. In May 8th, you and Bobby going against the Hustlers if they still have the team straps to pretty much own everything in the Midwest.
well, it's May 18th, and I don't know. Most of the time when you're trying to throw a card together, since each of us have individual titles, you want that. That's going to be the big show, so you probably want each title on the line separately. So my classic and Bobby Centrals, and then the tag team. You probably want to separate those all out just to fill your card.
And to fill my cup.
Right,
Yep.
and that would be the night that the that goes up for grabs again. So it'd be yeah, definitely gonna be a cold weekend. I'm hoping, But last year I spent the whole weekend out there anyway, so I'm just probably gonna do the same thing this year. Because the legends start rolling in on Friday anyhow, so this time they'll probably start rolling in Friday morning instead of like Friday evening. That way we can get some of them in because Little Birdie has told me that they are thinking about like a trivia night on Friday with some of the legends hosting it. But like I said, it's not cut in stone yet. But I'll tell you, they did a trivia night in Iowa when I was there for their Hall of Fame. And, I've been to some trivia nights, and it's not for wrestling, but for other things. And some of them are great. Like the Little Devils one, that was pretty fun because you're getting a little tipsy at the same time. But I've gone to some where it's just so freaking boring. But this one in Iowa was great. They had like a DJ hosting it, and you were in teams, and each team had their own like tag team name, and as a group, you're able to answer the questions. And it just made it really fun. So I'm hoping we can probably pull that from there and stick it at the Mayfest, Fan Fest, and have a really cool weekend out of it. So, you
Well,
want
as
the
long as there's
results?
alcohol there, it's going to be a lot of fun.
Oh, well. So let me
Because I know
do.
There you
a
go.
few of you guys, I'm not saying names, can throw down some drinks.
Oh, it's got to be Bobby then. So, two things
I
too
don't
to
drink.
add to that. One, it's in the contract that the AC has got to be on and turned on, and the bar has got to stay open later, and it's got to have more than just one person, running it. So right off the bat, it's going to be a better weekend because the bar is going to be open longer, and you're not going to be sweating to death.
I would say, you
And it
would think
better
the
be
hotel
fully
would want that
stocked.
anyway, because selling the drinks is going to make the hotel money. So you'd think they'd want that anyway.
Well, that's what it was supposed to be last year too. They were supposed to stay open longer. You'd think they would have more than just one or two people running the bar. Because the bar, also served food, so you had to have at least a cook and a bartender or something. But you
Well, I
know,
know at 7 o'clock, I mean, the three of us wanted food from the restaurant there, and they wouldn't do it. So you guys had to go send people out to go get fast food, and that's just
yeah,
stupid.
yeah. When everything should have been right then and there, shouldn't never have to leave the property. If you think you're the hotel, you would think you didn't want people to leave the property. The longer they can stay on the property, the more they're going to spend at your property.
And my first thought, and I I said it is when people leave to go get food, they're not going to come back because it's hot and it's just, they came back anyway. It was just uncomfortable.
Right. I mean, the whole situation, even as much as I would say that it did kind of suck that just the fan was on and not the AC, it did kind of make some situations happen. Like there was one point when I went outside to like take a breather, and Victoria and Enzo were standing right next to me, and all three of us were bullshitting. So, I mean, even though in the fan fest we were pretty close to them, and we did actually communicate back and forth, but that probably never would have happened if the AC was on and everything. So it made little things happen. A lot of the legends would take turns to go outside or go into the hallway where a lot of the fans were to kind of cool off a little bit and come back in. So that made that fan interaction happen a little bit better too, I think. So always got to
And
take
the
some
fan,
positives out of it.
yeah, and the fan after that interaction would follow them in, buy a picture, pay for them to autograph it. Otherwise, they wouldn't have done that.
Right.
But anyway, let's backtrack back to this last weekend. Who was on the card?
All right. So now this is not in the right order, but because this is all based off of memory. Rick Ruby went against Billy McNeil. Now I kind of watched some of this match, and then I seen some clips. Some people's posted on YouTube already about it. But Rick
Slightly
Ruby,
different sizes.
big guy. 350 pounds, north of 350 pounds, and you got Billy McNeil south of 150. uh, So you have Billy trying to do all these fast moves, try to capitalize on Rick being a little slower, and it was paying off. But it always happens that once the big guy gets a hold of you, it just takes one or two moves from the big guy to kind of put you back down on the playing field. And so that's kind of what happened. Billy was flying around, doing some good things. But then it just took one or two shots of Rick Ruby and his size and strength, to slow Billy down. But what was really cool is, Billy was able to fire back up later on in the match, got him down on the ground, and then climbed up to the ropes, and then he jumped off the top rope, landed on Ruby, and was able to get the pin. However, he should have got the pin and slid out of the ring and went back to the locker room because he stuck around a little too long and allowed Ruby to get back up. And Ruby just manhandled him after the match. So Billy McNeil did get the pin, but he got a beat down afterwards. So, uh,
So he won,
Billy,
but lost.
right.
Won the battle, not the war.
Yep.
Now, Superstar Steve, he went up against the Brandon Beretta. And Brandon, he's come a long way in the short time that he's been a wrestler. I seen pictures of him when he first started the Ace Academy versus now, and he looks night and day different. Came in kind of a chubby person, and now people come up to him and say that he looks like a young Brock Lesnar.
You know
It's an
what?
inside joke, but
I can see that.
but now we are all going to say that he looks like a young Brock Lesnar, just about 3 feet too short. But
So he's Baby Brock. That's his new
Baby
nickname,
Brock.
Baby Brock.
Steve Fender, he's the one that I got coming up this Saturday in a steel cage. So that's going to be a crazy match. My classic title's on the line in that cage. Been a while since I've been in the cage, but and a lot of people, Steve was like doing interviews left and right about how I'm a big guy, that he just needs to outrun me in the cage and get me winded. And that might happen too. But the last cage match I was in there for almost an hour. So, I was trying to. If you guys watch the SICW TV show on Sundays, they had me being interviewed, and I said exactly that. Dr. Drew surprised me when he said that. We're wondering about your whole cardio situation. You're a big guy, and of course, Steve can probably work wonders around you. And I threw that right back at him. That last time I was in there for an hour. So cardio might not. So. But either way, Steve went against Brandon, and Brandon tried to hold his own against Steve. But you got to give it to him. He's trained by Harley Race. And as a matter of fact, Saturday he was doing an interview, and he threw that out there about how he was trained by Harley Race, and how Harley Race will be looking down on us during that match. And I think this is an interview where I said that. You might be trained by Harley Race, but he is probably turning over in his grave on how you turned out.
Yeah, and for some reason the audio is not working properly.
Is it because you got the microphone turned up?
Well, I had it turned up, but let's see. Yeah, I just didn't want.
I actually thought that was the interview going on, but it was just your echo effect.
I was like, you don't have either of your microphones on now.
Oh, that's good. So we don't have to hear Nate's voice.
Yeah, but he can still hear you.
Yeah. So anyway, Steve, gotta give him props that he was trained by Harley Race.
Wrestling fans, we are back from this week's Promoter's Corner, and I am here with our reigning SICW Classic Wrestling Champion, at least for now. Tex, 6 days away this weekend. You are putting your title on the line against a very devious man, a former Classic Wrestling Champion in Superstar Steve Fender. Not only is it a title match, it's inside a steel cage this Saturday in Fairmont City. What are your thoughts? You've been a busy man this last month.
Very busy. But, when you're the champion, you always try to defend it, and that's what I try to do. But I tell you, Steve Fender, you were trained by Harley Race. Harley Race would probably be turning over in his grave right now with how you turned out. So this Saturday, Fairmont City, I'm going to make you respect wrestling again.
Now, here's what he's thinking and what I've heard from certain fans, and I've heard it from Lucky P. Larson. They think the difference will be your cardio. Steve Fender can go 20, 30 minutes without breaking a sweat. They're saying if he can last 5, 10 minutes and avoid the lariat of yours, maybe he's going to drag you into deep water, and you might actually be at a disadvantage.
Well, I'll tell you this. The last steel cage match I had, I went an hour. So cardio don't make a difference in a steel cage.
Ladies and gentlemen, you heard it. You're reigning this Saturday defending Classic Wrestling Champion. Steel cage match versus former champ Steve Fender, Fairmont City this Saturday. Good luck, Tex.
Thank you, sir.
He knows the shit.
So I've wrestled him many times. I can vouch for that. Right. When you think you got him somewhere, he's sneaking out with something.
Right. But yeah, so Brandon, tried to do his best, but he did come up a little short against Steve, and Steve got the win off of him.
Brandon's
So
a little short.
did you pick up any tips for your match coming up against Steve?
I've wrestled Steve myself, and I know his biggest weakness is his neck. And I say that because his neck's been fused. And I'm going to use that as my advantage. I'm probably going to attack the head, the neck area, upper back. Taking his head and throwing it against that steel cage is going to help me, Might send a little shock waves down that spine of his, but It's definitely going to do some damage. And after mine and his battle, in a couple weeks, he's going against one of the NWA guys, Adonis. Back in WWE, his name was shoot, what was it? He did
Masters.
yeah, Chris Masters. That was his name in WWE. Lately he's been working for the NWA. Kind of changed his name. I guess WWE owned the Masters, the Master Lock type thing. So he's going by Adonis in the NWA. So, that's if he gets to him, because our match is definitely going to be a big brutal match. I was talking to the wife earlier, and I was talking to her about this match coming up, and I was telling her what I was thinking about doing, and I was talking about how he's more of a wrestler than I am. And she goes, "Well, what do you mean? What are you? What are you?" I said, "Well, I am a wrestler, but I'm a different style of wrestling. I'm more of a brute, or uh, I'm just a big old brute, basically. I can't think of what I had told her earlier, but
Brawler.
brawler. Thank you. Where Steve is more of a wrestler. He likes to put you on holds, where I like to just beat out of holds. Because uh, you know, I'm sure you got the clip of our match this Saturday. I can't tell you how many forearms I threw, or how many punches I threw, or in Sean's spot, where how many chops I threw. Because again, I'm more of a brawler than I am a wrestler. Of course, it's my big size. Oh, and this is after the match going on here. So
Yeah, I was over like in the ring looking down, and it looked like you just lariat right to the mouth.
Yep, a little bit.
what was great?
Cameraman POV.
Well, hopefully he's getting his jaw wired shut now.
What was great was so it was me and Bobby versus Peyton Ayers and Sean Vincent. Now, who is this guy?
It's an ad from
That's private video stuff.
an ad from your page, Jim.
Man, from my page.
An ad from your page.
Oh. So anyway,
So we should let it run through so you get paid.
versus Peyton and Sean. And towards the end of the match, we pretty much all had it won. I body slammed Sean Vincent to the ground, and Bobby was all tag me in. So of course I let Bobby finish off Sean. And what'd you put him in?
Scorpion Deathlock.
Scorpion Deathlock.
Yep.
But through that whole time, we left one person alone, and I guess none of us watched him. No one paid attention to him. But Stephen E was out there with them. And when Bobby went to finish the deal, Stephen E had threw some powder into Bobby's face. And that, of course, they got disqualified, and we got the victory. But, we wanted the clean cut, Sean tapping out to it. So, we wanted the sweet spot, But
I just wanted to hurt Sean.
Well, when that started going down, Glenn Williams came out. He interfered and everything, and so it was basically 4-on-2. And then Gary Jackson kind of slid in there and came to our aid, and so we pretty much cleared house after that. And Gary fed me. I think he fed me Peyton, or did you feed me Peyton?
I think I fed you Peyton.
Yeah, so Bobby fed me Peyton. I was able to lariat him. And then Gary fed me Glenn. I lariated. I gave him the lariat. And then I was looking around like, where the hell is Sean? And, from that clip that you just shown, I seen him. He was crawling away on his belly, trying to get back to the locker room. And it clearly shows me I grabbed him by his pants and pulled him back, and picked him up and gave him his lariat. You know, this is actually a pretty forceful one as well, because granted, the other ones I'm running towards you or you're running towards me, but on this particular one, it's a short arm clothesline. So I forced him one direction, then yanked him back towards me, and then clotheslined him. But this little cameraman guy, he's not one of our regular cameraman guys. So he's not, Erica, and he's not Hamlin. This guy comes out only for Glenn Williams and Sean Vincent. So he's like their personal camera guy. And so I seen him over there in the corner. So he's lucky that I didn't lariat. Man, I can't even do this. But he's lucky I didn't give him the lariat too. But instead, I kicked him in the gut and then forearmed his back and dropped him. But man, the fans went crazy when I did that. And the funny thing is too, when we went back in the locker room, I was starting to get reprehended about hitting a cameraman, because they thought I hit Hamlin or I hit Erica. But then once they realized I hit Glenn's personal cameraman, they were like, "Oh, okay, never mind. We don't care." So it was pretty funny. But so we just went through the main event. So let's go through some of the other cards here. Waco went against Joe Helms. Waco was my sidekick forever and a day, and I've gone against Joe Helms, but he's kind of changed up his whole attitude. Not that he's on the good side, but I think he's leaning towards that way, and he's kind of changed up his whole outfit and actually how he wrestles in the ring. Because I seen the clip of him doing some sort of like cartwheel in the ring, and I think it was a cartwheel into a clothesline or something.
Yeah, some kind of cartwheel into a clothesline. I think he's trying to challenge you on lariats or something.
Well, I tell you,
let's see your cartwheel into a lariat.
Yeah, that's never going to happen. So he could keep the cartwheel into a lariat. I ain't going to say much, but that's normally a girl's move. So we'll just throw that out there.
When I saw it, it's like I was a little confused by it, but
whatever. I'm not going to go with his new gimmick.
They laid him out with it.
Yeah. Because I think that was China. China did that a lot. She did that cartwheel into a clothesline or a back elbow or something like that in the corner. But we'll just throw it out there, as long as Joe has turned a leaf and he's going against what's the name of that group? Lucky P. Larson and his
Dogtown Underground.
Dogtown Underground. Yeah, so as long as he can knock some of them guys off, so that you can pay attention to Vincent. And I told Gary Saturday, I said, "Hey, you're gonna have to handle the Sheiks and the Peytonairs and the Attila, because I got to get focused on Steve." Well, which would be good because it's in a cage, so I shouldn't have any interference. Shouldn't
put anything past those guys. Don't put anything past them.
We had a hometown boy debut that night. Bryce, butcher his last name, Calvey, Cawvey.
I thought I heard him say someone it's pronounced like coffee.
Yeah, Calvey. Yeah, coffee. But he went against Glenn Williams. Before the match, Glenn Williams was shooting his mouth off, saying that, this is, going to be a short, simple, sweet match, But I tell you, this Bryce guy, he was flying all over the place. He was like a luchador without a mask.
Did you see that lion salt he hit to finish it off with?
Yes.
That was pretty smooth.
Yeah, he even did like the Undertaker's old school where he climbs the ropes, except for where the Undertaker comes off with the forearm. I think he did an arm drag or something off of it with it. So it's pretty cool. So Bryce, on his debut, picked up the win. Is here Gary Jackson. He wrestled Sean Douglas. I did say Sean this time, so I'm getting better. But we used to call him the Golden Boy, Sean Douglas. But there's another Golden Boy in town. So we kind of had to strip him of that name. So now he's going by Pretty Boy Sean Douglas instead of Golden Boy. Either way, Gary just pretty much used all of his veteran techniques, and you can tell Sean pretty much didn't know where he was in some part of the match, because during some of it he was looking down, like at his tennis shoes instead of looking straight at Gary. Gary is just able to take him to town. One other match was on that card. Curtis Wild went against some ninja guy. I couldn't remember his name. Do you remember what his name is? He dresses up as a ninja.
I'm wanting to say, is Castaldi in his name, or is that someone else?
I think that's someone else. But yeah, so Curtis Wild, again, he's a veteran. This ninja guy, I think he's only been around for like a
Shogun.
What?
Is it Shogun?
Yeah, Shogun. Yeah, so Shogun, I think, has only been around for like a year or so, at least in our locker room.
Yeah, and it's not even every month. He just kind of comes and goes.
Right. So Curtis Wild, he was able to just take control over him and secured the victory too. So, all in all, it was a great card. The fans were into it. I think there's some other things going on that night that I was kind of hoping for a little bit more fans, but so many things are going on Saturday night locally. They're right down the road from Pops and all the clubs. I'll just say that.
You're at that time of year when everybody's having all their outdoor festivals all around and stuff too. Like,
right.
Chili Cook-Off's the same weekend as this cage match. But hopefully people hit it during the day and then come to the cage match at night.
Right.
Well, and last week I know there were 2 separate events that drew most of the people locally. So.
Right.
Oh yeah, it was Wainwright's big weekend too. That drew a lot of people.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, it was a great card from top to bottom. And I think the fans were really involved in it. We got, it was at a church, and that preacher, I don't know, what do you call him? Is he a reverend or is he a preacher? I guess he was a preacher. He came in and, kind of put us all together in one room. So, a lot of people had to be in between a lot of the wrestlers because he wanted a picture of all the people in the locker room. So, the babies and the heels had to coexist for a minute or two to get this picture done. But yeah, we definitely stayed away from each other. But so that might be out there on the internet. But yeah, that had to be done for that preacher. But other than that, it was a good night. And I think this Saturday, I don't know what all the card is going to be on it. I know they announced today that El Diablo was going to be back. So he is a masked wrestler that comes and goes every now and then too. I know he's currently holding a belt for New Breed. I don't know if it's their main belt or their heavyweight belt, which I know he's held before, and it's kind of weird because he's another guy who's like a $125, and for him to be for him to be able to hold a heavyweight belt, more power to him. But he's going to be back, so Fairmont City is. There's a lot of Mexican people that live or reside in that area, and they always love to see some luchadors, come through as well. So Herb tries to take care of them that way too, bringing in some guys because he brought in a guy last time too. This guy was from Canada, but he had trained down in Mexico and and worked down there for a couple of years, and then would float back up to Canada.
Yeah, like
Man,
El Papi or something like that.
yeah, that guy was pretty cool.
See, I didn't even get to meet him. It was the same weekend as my son's birthday, so I skipped that weekend.
Oh well, he even came to one of the Belleville shows too.
Yeah, I saw him at a Belleville show.
Yeah,
I missed the Fairmont City show his debut.
yeah, he does some crazy stuff on the ropes too, stuff that I've never seen any other luchadors do. But yeah, I mean, I think at that Fairmont show, he literally walked around the top rope around the whole ring. So it's kind of crazy to see all the stuff he can do. But so it should be a great night. Like I said, I'm sure Bobby's going to be on the card. I'm sure you'll see the regulars. Gary Jackson. I don't know if Attila is going to be there or not. Hopefully he's not. Because if he's not, then I don't have to worry about him interfering in the cage. Well, hopefully
I don't know who I'm going to wrestle, but I was texted by the booker and told to be at the show.
There you go.
So I will be there. Just don't know who.
So I mean, every weekend so far, it's just been wrestling. And this coming up weekend, besides the cage match, WWE is going to be in town. It's Friday Night SmackDown. It's going to be in town. So you got Friday Night SmackDown, and you got us on Saturday. The Chili Cook-Off is happening that weekend. So it's going to be another crazy weekend. And then we come back to Belleville on the 14th, and our good friend Jimmy Hart's going to be hosting that show. So that's going to be a stellar show too. And then I don't know if it's the following weekend, but we got the GCW
That's on the
show coming
28th.
up. Huh?
That's on the 28th.
28th. So that's going to be a great one. I don't know if a lot of people who's lived locally or grew up in the Belleville, St. Louis / area, there was, I mean, always a bunch of federations running around, but there was one standout, and it was Gateway Championship Wrestling, GCW. It was the first original GCW, not the one that's currently out there with the King of the Death matches and stuff like that. Big Bad Ben was the promoter's name. He was also slash wrestler for ECW, and he just pretty much took the ECW ways and brought it to his own federation. So you had people, like RVD come through, Sandman come through, Nova came through.
Chris Jericho came through.
Yeah, so it was a lot of high-end wrestlers going against some wrestlers that he helped make famous, because Matt Sydal came from GCW. Delirious, who has been a long-time booker for Ring of Honor, is came from there. Mischief, who wrestled in Japan, wrestled all around. She came through there.
And I'll say, as a teenage boy watching her, she was fabulous to watch.
All I remember is she reminded me of Mortal Kombat, because one of the fatalities,
Cinda.
Yeah, one of the fatalities was just the scream, and that's what she would do. When she ever connected on a certain move, her scream was just crazy. Probably the worst thing that you could ever say about GCW, and I say this because it's the only thing I can ever say that was bad about GCW.
Sean Vincent was there.
Yep, they gave Sean Vincent his start. Even though he was just a ref turned wrestler, but unfortunately, they gave him his start, and that's what we got to deal with nowadays. But yeah, so there's the picture. So you got the big match is going to be Joe Helms versus Kowalski. Yep, and I can't see the little ones.
That's Sean Vincent and Glenn Williams versus Flash Flanagan and myself.
Oh, there you go.
That's
You and
October
Flash
14th.
getting together. Your pre-WWE phase, and then when you get up there, everybody will say, "We watched him and Flash."
Yeah, so I mean, it's just like I said, it's nonstop wrestling, all the way up until December. I think December is when we finally get a break.
Yeah, I know October for sure. We have a show every single week.
But yeah,
Now,
I
one
mean,
of those is like the Max show on a Thursday.
yep. So it's going to be very cool, very
And if I'm
unique shows
remembering
coming up.
correct, on the 15th is our private show at the Wrestling at the Chase Building.
Yeah, that's the 15th, so that's next weekend as well.
Yeah, the following day from that.
Yeah. So man, yeah, it's kind of crazy. It's kind of cool, because we're getting to the season where we got those unique shows that we're doing.
It's
It's
going
not
to be a
every
whirlwind.
it's not every show that we do a cage match, but we've been knocking a couple of those out here lately. We got some legends coming back into town with Jimmy Hart doing next month. Well, this month. Sorry, we're in October. We got Ron Simmons doing wrestling at the Chase. The Mac Show. We got Jim Duggan. I'm trying to think here. Jake the Snake Roberts. I think Jimmy Hart's coming in for the Mac Show too. But there's one other person I think is coming in from the Mac. Man, it might be Bob Orton, or it could be someone else. I can't remember. But yeah, so I mean, it's going to be great shows, and a lot of times this Mac show, you know, it's a lot of lawyers, doctors, sports people, and I've seen some people that are just friends of these doctors and lawyers and stuff come in. Um, and it's always been a great show. So, they're smoking their cigars, they're in their tuxes, and they're eating those steak and shrimp dinners and drinking, all you can drink whiskey and beer. And, my luck has been really great at this show where I've been able to drink free whiskey and beer and eat the steak and everything like that. So hopefully this continues, especially now that I'm the champ. Maybe they can, give the champ a little bit more this year. It'd be great.
I heard last year you got a bottle and a steak.
Oh, this steak was it was probably the best steak that I ever had in my life. And so I did give away just a few bites to some other people so they can realize how good of a steak this was.
I wasn't on last year's, but I was on the year before for the first one, and it was a pretty awesome show.
Right. So we're going to hopefully get Nate to come out to this show too and get this recorded. Because they record it every year for Herb's wrestling show, but they only show some clips of it. They don't really show any full matches of it. So it'd be nice to get another camera in there and get the full matches, and then have the Square Ring podcast. Send some of those out.
I'll be there.
Yeah, be some classic ones. On a different note, I always come to you guys when I pick up certain objects or items. When I got the Bruiser Brody and the Stan Hansen new figures, I showed them off. I did pick up. I've had these figures once before, but I almost had the whole collection of what they call LGN wrestling figures. It was WWF at the time. During a low light that I had to pay some bills and medical bills and stuff come up, I sold my collection off. So I'm slowly piecing it back together. Of course, now everything's everything costs more than what when I bought it back then. And I had these pretty much all in mint, and it's going to be very hard to find them in mint anymore. But I got Don Morocco in, and then I got San Martino Bruno. So I picked these guys up. There was a St. Louis antique mall out there that I had some friends tell me I had to go look. And I tell you, when you go out to this place, it's an antique mall, so it's kind of like the one that you guys have in Prairie Heights, where you go in, there's different booths, and people have different items. Mostly it's all antiques. But this one, I think, is the coolest place around because you go in, and they're playing like rock and roll music, and like the booths, or they do have some that have antiques, but most of them, it's like a old fashioned toy factory. There's everything in there, like He-Man and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and GI Joes all over the freaking place. And they not every booth, but there's a lot of booths that have wrestling items. And there was this one that I tell you, just imagine the biggest tote that you can buy to store your stuff, just full of just wrestling figures. You just go through this tote, and then there's like booths with just behind the glass wrestling figures, but I picked those up, and also picked up some kind of cool cards from the same place, but we got the Iron Sheik. I had to pick up Sheiky, baby, especially since he passed away this year.
You'd be a jabroni not to.
Right? Roddy Piper, had to pick him up. This is from a WCW collection.
One of our favorites here.
Then I picked up 3 Harley Race ones. When he was King Harley Race. Anytime you can find a Harley Race, his figure, I tell you, like in the LGNs, his figure and Haku's figure are probably the most sought after figures. Especially if you can get, there's like a version of Hulk Hogan where he's wearing, like back in the 80s, he used to wear, besides yellow, he would always come to the ring in a white shirt and red trunks, and he would rip off the white shirt, There was one of that color on him that's very highly collectible. And then they have Sergeant Slaughter. There was one that you had to mail off to get him. So he's very highly collectible too. Let's see here. I was an Ultimate Warrior junkie, so I had to get an Ultimate Warrior. But these are what actually drew me into buying these cards, because I love this old style of cards. So this one is what Jules Strongbow, right? Yep. And then we got Chief J Strongbow. These guys, they were all over the place. You found them in WCW, you found them in AWA, you found them in WWF, found them in Mid South. They were everywhere. Very cool guys. But besides those, my favorite card that I ever owned is the rookie of Bruiser Brody. Look at that mop of a hair that he's got on that thing. Now, I didn't buy that this weekend.
70s.
I didn't buy that this weekend. I've had this one for a long time. I've also got another baseball card of his that sticks in my visor in my truck. But yeah, just that card right there, that Bruiser Brody, is just kind of weird.
I don't think I've ever seen him with that little facial hair.
Yeah. That's why I was thinking the beard was short out of everything.
Speaking of Bruiser, Hulk Hogan was on Joe Rogan not too long ago. I think it was either last week or the week before.
Yeah, I watched a clip of how he had to buy his name back.
Oh, yeah. But, when you can hear from the horse's mouth, and I say that Tony, what's this? USA Tony
Atlas,
he was right there with Bruiser, not per se when he got stabbed. After he got stabbed, he walked to Tony for Tony to help him out. And, of course, to hear it and I heard it firsthand out of Tony's mouth, that whole ordeal, about how he was gutted like a fish. And it was before the show even started. And how when he got to when he finally got to the hospital, the doctor said, "Oh, you know, he's gonna be fine. We see this kind of wound all the time. Your buddy's gonna be good." But then someone after Tony left came in and told the doctors to quit working on him, supposedly, and then that's what caused him to pass throughout the night. I've brought this up before, where there's videos of people calling out Hulk Hogan for his lies. And you can find it. You can search it on YouTube. Dutch Mantel talks about it. Jim Cornette talks about it, about how Hogan takes a little bit of the truth and then really freaking stretches it. Well, he talked about how he went to Puerto Rico, and after his match, him and Macho Man, they went to Macho Man's dressing room, and it was just trashed. And so they both went to Hogan's dressing room, and there was people waiting in there, and they told Hogan, "If you ever come back here, we're going to kill you." And then he goes into this Bruiser Brody, and he was telling Joe Rogan about how, a week later, Bruiser Brody showed up, and, Bruiser was a manhandler, and he beat the crap out of this guy. And after the match, the guy slit his throat, and he died right there. And I'm thinking, he didn't get his throat slit. He didn't die right there. It wasn't after a match. Hogan had just got all the fucking details all wrong, and that kind of aggravated me. Just I'm a Hogan fan. I tell you this on every podcast. I'm a Hulk Hogan kid of the '80s fan, but just to hear, because I'm also a Bruiser Brody fan, and we hang out with his widow all the time, and I can't tell you how many times that I've heard this story. Because anywhere you go with Barbara, some fan or some legend, or wherever we be in CAC or when I was in Iowa, it always comes up, and pretty much it's all the same stuff. But when it came out of Hogan's mouth, it was totally flipped and out of there. But the thing is Joe Rogan is so popular that now all this, these details are going to get screwed all over the place.
But what band was it that he said he was on tap for to be a guitarist for?
Metallica.
And that was national news, and nobody believed that.
Yeah, no one believed that. But like I said, Joe Rogan is the number one podcaster, and he talks about how he has more views than CNN, does.
Well, that's true. That is definitely true.
And CNN tanked.
So I mean,
CNN tried to cancel Joe Rogan, and the opposite happened.
Right.
CNN got less views after that.
I mean, you just can't cancel Joe Rogan. I listen to him any night that he's on. He's normally he does normally about 2 or 3 podcasts a week, and I listen to every one of them. And he's had some great guests, wrestling wise too. He's had Jake the Snake on, he's had Ric Flair on, Hulk Hogan, like I said, and then this last week he had Kurt Angle on. And some of the stuff that Kurt Angle talked about, everyone knows he won the Olympics with a broken neck. But this guy broke his neck like 9 times throughout his amateur career, his pro wrestling career. And that's why he was hooked on painkillers, most of his wrestling life. And that's why he got let go from the WWE the first time, is they wanted him to take it easy and recoup some of and heal from all these wounds and stop taking, the painkillers.
I recommend the A and E documentary Kurt Angle did. He gets into that stuff a lot. And the details of it.
He wasn't shy about any of it. And it's kind of cool. I haven't seen the A&E one yet. I might have to look that up after this.
It's not a very long one. I think it's only about an hour, but it was good.
Yeah, I think they did one. The same show. Same show did another one too that I watched. Can't remember who it was on though.
I'd say they did a Cody Rhodes one that got popular.
That's what it was. It was Cody Rhodes. It was on his first week or so coming back to the WWE, which was really cool too. But I couldn't say that his first stint in WWF I was a fan, but this time around he hooked me because I wanted to know why a guy that was such a top person in AEW would jump ship back to the WWE. And he still really hasn't said why. He just said it's personal. So he hasn't, really told anyone why, though. I'm assuming it was just direction Tony Khan was trying to take AEW versus what he originally wanted AEW to be. That would be the only reason I would think.
I think some of it's got to be a connection through his family. Dusty spent a lifetime with WWE.
Yeah, but
even when he wasn't wrestling, when he was running NXT, that was his life.
Oh, I know. But at the same time, WWE was not giving Cody what he felt he deserved. And he didn't get that until he went out on his own and showed the WWE what he could do. And, it's...
And that could have been part of the personal reason, too. It's like, all right, here I am. Let me show you now.
I can't believe Matt Cardona hasn't come back yet, with everything that he's done. We're still
making more money now than he was with the WWE before.
I know, but that's normally when you can make a shit ton more from the WWE because you can get them to pay you. But I know really the reason why still is because he still has that one scratch to scratch, and that's that Rory Fox. He needs to wrestle him before he can go back to Rory Fox before he can go back up to the WWE. So, hopefully we can see that match sometime before he goes. But speaking of like TV programs, I don't know if you guys were able to catch the wrestlers yet on Netflix. Still a good show. I still recommend it. It sucks that it's only 7 episodes long. But it was great to see the conflict between Al Snow and the 2 corporate guys who doesn't care per se about the history of wrestling and how it was handled back in the day. And Al Snow is a back in the day old school soul of wrestling, and it's kind of cool to see them bump heads. But
well, sounds to me like just a little segue there. If Herb's listening, Al Snow being old school might be one for the Fan Fest.
Oh my God, that would be great.
That would be huge.
I was trying to think of who I would love to see come back in, and
everybody loves Head.
Yeah, of course. But of the old school guys, they're still out there. Some of them we already had in, but I would love to just see them again. Ricky Steamboat, I would love to come back in, because that's
Ricky
one guy.
Steamboat's the one where, like, I always talk about. He came to that Swansea Firehouse show, and everybody's asking him questions. I just sat back in a corner typing as fast as I could in my phone. Like, that man has so much knowledge, it's ridiculous.
For the longest time, he was backstage for WWE putting the matches together. And after my match that night, he pulled me to the side and went through my whole match. He watched my whole match. And he was able to tell me everything that I should have done or shouldn't have done. And that was probably the first time that someone of that stature took the time to talk to me. A lot of legends, they come through and I bullshit with them because I know all about them. but it's rare for, and some of them are great at watching the shows. Dutch Mantel, he watched every single match when he came through and was able to talk to us about them. But Ricky I mean, he just dove right in, and it was a deep dive on your match. You could tell he was working for the WWE, doing that same stuff for those wrestlers, but you know, who would you love to see, Bobby, come in?
One of my idols, Mick Foley's, if he could come around. You still got Billy Kidman out there. I don't know if he does anything with wrestling.
Billy Kidman, man, I haven't heard him in a long time.
Dean Malenko. Like, I'm just naming my idols here.
Wow, right.
Dean Malenko. I say his brother was just at a College for Holly Club, so.
I'm sure he'll come in because he was at Iowa, he was at CIC, so I'm sure we'll bring him in for ours. So that'd be great if we can have the tag team of the Malenkos there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would it be bad if I asked him to step aside and just got a picture with Dean, though?
Joe's older, so he might be able to put you in a pretzel a lot quicker than Dean. We're gonna have to come up with a list of people that we can shoot to Herb on who we want to come in. Because I would love to see Arn Anderson again too. Because when he came in with Barry Windham and J.J. Dillon at the same time, that was a hell of a night too. Because he had just started his own podcast, Arn Anderson, and I was up to date on all of his podcasts. And when I told him that, his ears like perked up and was like, well, tell me what did you like? What did you hate? What do you want to see more of? And so it's kind of cool that he was wanting my opinion because he was nervous about what he was doing. He was first time podcaster. You can tell in the first episodes that he had to be walked through on what to do.
And for anyone listening, tell us, what do you like? What do you hate? What do you want more of?
Right. Matter of fact, I'm putting this out there in the comments section. Write to us and let us know who you would want Herb Simmons to bring in to SICW for this fan fest. Because Herb will listen to us, but it's a fan fest for a reason. So if the fans were to tell us who they would want to see, that'll reach a lot further than, two wrestlers want to see this person come in. If we get 100 fans saying, hey, we want Arn Anderson, and I'm pretty sure he's going to reach out to Arn Anderson and try to bring him in, because Herb always does this for the fans. So definitely, in the comment section, give us like a top 10 of who you want to see. If you're bold enough and brave enough, do a top 50, because I'm sure Herb is going to reach to 50 again, if not more. So if you got the time on your hands, give us your list. Let us know who you would want to see. And we will definitely pass this on to Herb, because I know for a fact Herb watches these episodes of ours. And he gives me feedbacks sometimes. Like, he really loved last week's episode. So and the one that we had Bill taking the place of Nate, he loved that episode too. So
he really doesn't like Nate, huh?
Yeah, of course he did. He didn't like me on there.
Well, I think he just liked hearing it's kind of cool hearing different parts of the SICW family on why they got involved in the wrestling, where Bill was a fan and had so much in his hometown come to him. I mean, man, the NWA went there, the AWA went there. People came up from the Von Erich stable and went up there. Oh my God! I mean, come on. Who would not be in love with wrestling when you can go to your local arena and not even like a big Savage Center or the what do they call it, the football stadium that we don't have a football team for no more. You know,
It's changed like 7 names.
I know,
I
but
don't know which one they're on.
Is it a Ameritrade Center or something now?
I
yeah,
think
I
it's
think that's what it
America.
is. But yeah, so it's kind of cool to see why they got involved in the wrestling. And Nate, we're building Nate's history with wrestling right now because Nate was just a small time fan, and now we're building his resume where he gets to meet all these guys and bring back his. I've seen the last Mayfest or Fan Fest. After it was all over, he was in a corner crying because he didn't want it to end. It's like, oh, my childhood. I revisited my childhood all weekend. No, don't go. So
I
we
don't
had.
think anybody believes that.
I thought it was because he had to poop.
Could be either way, but we're building Nate's history, so it's kind of cool. What I did want to say, besides the wrestlers on Netflix, Al Snow's great, definitely watch it. I also talked about Heels. Heels had season 2 just finished, so Bobby, you can do your trial and catch up on the whole season. The only thing I will tell you, it's a disappointment because the last episode was so great, and then Stars announced that they canceled like 10 shows and canceled them.
Well,
So they
there's always a chance they
canceled.
get picked up by somewhere else.
Oh, I'm hoping it does because, man, it is such a good episode and such a good cliffhanger. And I was pissed after I watched it because how dare you leave it on such a cliffhanger? And now it's one of those programs where you might not even get the fucking answer that you're looking for because they canceled the whole fucking show. So Stars, people behind that, if you're listening to this, fuck you. You know, bring back my damn show. I don't watch a whole lot of TV. And of course, when it is TV, it's about wrestling. So give me back my wrestling.
You're
Which is
making him
sad.
cry. He's squirting
Which,
tears over there, Stars. You made Big Texan cry.
right, which is sad because I don't watch actually wrestling. I don't watch Raw. I don't watch SmackDown. I don't watch pretty much. I could probably count on my hands how many times I've seen an episode of AEW. Um, for a while there, I was watching a lot of NWA because I'm a YouTube guy, and they're on YouTube. They're full episodes. Um, so I was watching NWA for a while, but even at that, as soon as my guy
Brodus
lost
Clay?
his, let's see if I can find him. Trevor Murdoch, as soon as he lost his belt, yeah, that went my thing with NWA. He was another Harley Race trained wrestler, and he's a really down to earth guy. Met him plenty of times. Trevor Murdoch or Trevor Rhodes, whatever you want to call him nowadays. Uh, Man, he's a great guy. Um, Always will give you the time of day. Well, to the fans, I mean, he talks to wrestlers like we're on the same level as he is, because he went from our level to the WWE, back down to our level, and now he's kind of riding one more wave of the NWA. And
I
I
don't know.
can't say,
I think WWE is a lesser level because there's no real wrestling there anymore.
yeah, but that's where the money is.
But the
And
money doesn't make it a better level. It just
oh well,
makes it
so
commercial.
here's the thing: a wrestler's wrestling career is normally short-lived. the days of the Undertaker and Shawn Michaels and those people with 25, 30 years in the WWE, that shit hardly ever happens. So most of the time they say you got a good 10-year span that wrestling wise that you can make money. So the object is to get up there, work your 10 years, bank all that cash, and then come home and, either retire or start working the indies, because most people can make still great money. Matt Cardona proved that. Cody Rhodes proved that. Um, but the careers are normally short, because most of the time you get injured so bad that you can't wrestle, and then you're screwed if you don't have a backup plan, or you didn't go to college, or you didn't have a trade prior to going into wrestling. So if you don't have that backup, and you don't, because he was probably in the WWE for maybe, I mean, it was a short stint, maybe 5 years, and he can probably slap me if I'm wrong. But it wasn't like a long stint. And then he did go down to TNA for maybe 1 or 2 years. That was a very shorter stint. And then, he wasn't doing anything with wrestling. He went back, he was cutting marble countertops. He was doing that for a while. And then this NWA, Billy Corgan, purchased it, started working it, and then, picked him up. I don't know how it worked, if he reached out to Billy or Billy reached out to him, but, so he's got this, resurgence of life in his wrestling career. But most of the time, that's, as soon as you leave the big money, you're done. EC3 is their current, heavyweight champion. He beat, God, what was his name?
Come on,
Big
Bob, you
guy.
gotta know.
That's it. It's Brodus Clay. I can't think of his name there.
Yeah. But yeah, so he beat him, and it was a retirement match. So he's
Tyrus.
yeah. So he beat him, and now he's retired. But Tyrus, he's a political figure now, basically. He's a Republican who speaks his mind, and he's making a lot of money doing that. So, anytime that you can leave wrestling on a high note, being a champion and get off from hurting your body to making probably a lot more money, it's always smarter to go that route. But EC3, man, he's been everywhere too. TNA, WWE. I want to say he even did a small stint in AEW. But now he's currently the NWA heavyweight champion. He's carrying the 10 pounds of gold.
I say he had that Control Your Narrative promotion too. Oh no, did they end up folding?
So it's still out there. But it was him and Braun Strowman.
Yeah.
And Braun Strowman went back to the WWE, so that, cut a lot of Strowman's name attached to it, so now it's just EC. So now it's just riding on EC3's name, But we have, Kurt Gannon was working with them, and there's his tag team partner. Man, it's not Roy Fox, because that's our other friend, but I think Fox is in his name too. I met him; he was a great guy, but. So we got, somebody's in that stable that's trying to come up. And, since he's hooked up with the NWA and the heavyweight champion, I bet you his guys, you'll probably see a lot of his guys come through. Because I know they do internet coaching. They have a place where he teaches. So it's kind of cool. See what all they can do. And our very own Brandon Beretta has gone through a seminar of his as well. So all cool things. But I think that's pretty much all I got to run my mouth about.
Yeah, that's pretty much all we have. I think
Uh,
we did more BSing than we did on the wrestling match last Saturday. We went
well,
through 4 cards, and that was about it.
I was like, we didn't really mention that this Saturday is for the fire and police. Fairmont, isn't it?
yeah, yeah. It's
So if
for
any
all
of
you
the
know.
guys.
I want to say it's the firemen, the police, the first responders. It's all of them, and they do this. They try to do it once a year. I think there was a COVID kind of shut them down for a while because they didn't want to get a whole bunch of people in one room.
Yeah.
But I tell you, last year they had this taco bar that they did. Uh,
Sold.
yeah, and so it was all handmade tacos. The tortillas and oh my god, it was freaking great. And plus,
That's my favorite Mexican restaurants in that same town, El Tiendo Ranchito. If they're doing the taco bar, I'm there.
right.
I mean, I'm going to be there regardless, but
You'll just be a lot more full when you go out for your match.
I might not be able to move very much.
So that's my problem too. I don't like to eat before I wrestle, and since I'm the main event that night, and I don't know what physically good of a shape I'm going to be in after that match. Bobby, you're just going to have to make me a plate. Is what you're going to have to do, and just keep it in the
What
bag.
I'm hearing is you got time to let it digest.
No,
You
no.
could put it at our table, but the girls all sit around our table, and yeah, I'm not going to deny them eating your food.
I say, I'm used to eating before a match. I'm good with it.
Yeah, I seen this boy eat some fucking chili, before a match, and I'm thinking, you're so wrong in so many ways, because
I used to do it all the way back in high school wrestling.
He's
well,
just doing
I
his
get
Andre impression.
it. You're right. One day it's gonna happen. I'm just glad
So
he's on
sorry
my
for arm
side.
wrestling.
Yep.
Okay.
So yes, come to the show Saturday, Fairmont City. It's at the Holy Rosary Church, Fairmont. Doors open at 6. Show starts at 7. It's always a packed house. Last year they quit letting people come in because it was such a packed house.
Awesome.
Right, and that's even with a little cushion because you see all the firemen there, so they allowed some more past the capacity, but it got to a point where they said, "Okay, we got to cut it." Yeah, it's not the butts here, so we gotta. But definitely a cool turnout. Um, and the taco bar was awesome. The beer's always cold, and we got a cage match, so. Can't ask for anything more. And maybe a Bobby
Yep.
D match.
Tacos, beers, and blood.
Right?
Everybody needs to be there.
I'll take care of the tacos and beer. Tex and you take care of the blood.
Oh,
And
yes.
I'll take care of documenting everything so we can talk about it the week next week.
Good.
Ooh, maybe we can do. Maybe I'll make my way over to your table during Texas match and commentate next to you.
Oh, that would be
And,
great.
and what's good is that for some reason on our Instagram page, we're still banned from doing any type of ads or anything. And it says we're not, but it says we are. But it allows us to go live now on Instagram, and I can do that from my phone.
There
So
you
I
go.
can do, segments of it live. I'm not going to do the whole thing live,
Right? I mean, you can do
but
that
certain
on
segments.
YouTube too.
Let's say
Bobby Eaton,
you
taco
young
number
folks with
32.
technology. I didn't even know you could go live on Instagram.
And you can go live on anything nowadays. Facebook, Instagram. It's crazy.
Yeah, but Instagram was blocking a lot of the features for our business page, for the Square Ring podcast page, and they would never give an answer why. They said we violated advertisements when we never ran an advertisement. So
Huh.
they still don't know why.
I don't know. Hey, I did want to give a shout out to Erica, our photographer. She told me that Normally, she can catch our show when she has time and she listens to it, but she said that she hadn't caught our show in the last couple weeks, except for last week. She said that she was able to watch it during the day when it premiered, and she about shit when she heard us talking about her and Hamlin. That she thought it was so cool that we mentioned, how great her photos are and how that she's becoming a good storyteller when she writes her paragraphs on them. So let's just tell her to keep it up. She's doing a good job. So Ramblin' Hamlin, I think that's what his call is on Facebook,
Yep,
right?
Rambling.
Ramblin'.
Well, keep up the good work, and we'll keep mentioning you.
Right. There we go.
Not only that, I mean, after every show, when we would sit and talk with Erica, I mean, she is a funny lady too. No holds bar. She doesn't hold back. She is funny.
She's a
Right.
bit goofy.
Yeah.
All right, so we've, ladies and gentlemen, we've done our job for this week. We let you guys know what we thought of the matches and who won. If you weren't there at the show, our next match is this Saturday, and you know about the May 18th Fan Fest. So you guys have a job. You guys got to tell us who you want to see at this Fan Fest. Like I said, if you can do a top 10. If you have time, do a top 50 because I'm sure Herb is going to get to try to beat his number from last year. He always tries to outdo himself. So definitely in the comment section, besides liking and sharing, your job, is to give us a top 10 list at least of who you want to see at the May 18th Fan Fest and Hall of Fame. So definitely let us know. And, like we said again about the videos too, if there's something you don't like, if you don't like Nathan wearing a hat or Bobby's faded red hair or the lack of hair on the top of my head, let us know. There ain't nothing I can do about the hair on the top of my head, but we might be able to convince Bobby to dye his hair before the show. So just let us know. If we suck or if we're doing good, if you like the show or if there's something you want us to change. We don't know unless you comment and tell us.
And if we suck, just sit back and enjoy the suckage.
Right. It only suck an hour to hour away. So, just sit back and listen.
Yep.
But so I'm gonna call it. So thank you guys for coming on. It's been a while since we've been consecutively coming on all together, all three of us. And we're only getting better. So if you think this week suck, next week I'm sure it's gonna be better than this week. So
We're
just keep
always
coming
going to
back
suck
to us.
more.
No,
That's
we
what she
go
said.
up. We don't go down.
Nope.
Also, what she said.
Okay. So from everyone at the Squared Ring Podcast, thank you. We do this for you. And just let us know how we're doing. But you guys have a good night. To my comrades, have a good night, and I'll see you in a couple days. It's going to be a big ass show. So
It's going to be
have a
fun.
good night, guys.
See you guys.
Adios.
See ya.